Hello and how are you, my friends? Today's lesson we're gonna continue talking about Macbeth, our drama play. But before we start reading, we would like to remember that in the previous session we were talking about the beginning of the act with the appearance of the three witches, and they were waiting for Macbeth and we didn't know why, but they were preparing something like a magic spell. So when our play started with the witches, something which is related to supernatural things, we believe that something ominous, something bad is going to happen in the coming events. So here we find out in scene 3 that the three witches are waiting for Macbeth and they heard him coming. He heard the drums and they heard him coming towards them. Of course, Macbeth and Banquo were a little bit surprised and they didn't know what kind of creatures are they. Even Banquo started saying that who are these creatures, so old and dressed so strangely. This is how he described them. He couldn't say that they are women, and he couldn't say that they are alien or something else. They look like women but not like normal women. They started addressing Macbeth by giving him 3 prophecies. One of them is true, which is they greeted Macbeth by saying that hail, Thane of Glamis, and this is true. Then they said that he is gonna be the Thane of Cawdor. Then the third one said that who will be king one day. Of course, these 3 prophecies had an impact on Macbeth. One of them is well known. The other one, how is gonna be the Thane of Cawdor while Thane of Cawdor is still alive? That's why he kept thinking, okay, what kind of prediction are these? Then they mentioned that he's going to be the future king. He was a little puzzled, while Banquo on the other side was a little bit humorous by telling them, you gave my friend his prophecies for the future, so I didn't take mine. I'm waiting for you and I'm not afraid of what you're going to say. So they gave Banquo 3 different prophecies. One of them is that he will be less than Macbeth but also greater. The second one said not so happy but much happier. The third one said that your children will be kings although you won't be king. Of course, the 3 prophecies were a little bit mysterious. How come they're gonna be less but greater? We have different interpretation for these 3 prophecies. Yes, he can be less in position, but greater means that people will love him maybe more than Macbeth. Okay, they said that he's not going to be so happy, but much happier. Okay, when people love you, when people adore you, when people appreciate what you're doing, when people are thankful and grateful for what you are doing, so you are greater, and at the same time you're going to feel much happier than a great man. And the third one, your children will be kings. I think that according to you and according to the foreshadowing, this means that Banquo will be killed or he will die. Okay. After listening to the prophecies, Macbeth would like to ask them more questions, but they vanished. He couldn't believe what they said. How can be the king and the king is still there, and the king has 2 sons, Malcolm and Donovan. So it's very strange predictions. Okay, we found out that Banquo and Macbeth were talking together about what happened and how things can come true. While they were talking, Ross, one of the attendees of the king, came to announce Macbeth the Thane of Cawdor too, and he explained why he took this title, because the Thane of Cawdor was a traitor and he has to be executed immediately from Scotland. And of course, Ross was explaining to Macbeth that the king was very grateful for what they have done in the battle and in the war, and they wanted to reward Macbeth by giving him the title of Thane of Cawdor. We also found out that Banquo, his friend, was very rational and wise man. Okay, when he found that Macbeth was a little bit disbelieving what's going on, and he kept thinking of how to be the king. And at the same time, this means that he's gonna do something not good, something not legal, something not clear. Okay, so Banquo, as a great friend, he gave Macbeth an advice by telling him that these are sinisters, these are evil, wicked witches. Okay, you'll never gain anything from them. They are using black magic, so don't trust them. Don't believe in what they are saying. Yes, they will give you one small important information. They're gonna drop it. Then another very clear and obvious action, they will mention it. Okay, because when they mentioned that you're gonna be the Thane of Cawdor, Ross came and tell you that you became the Thane of Cawdor. So you will start believing in their words and thinking, why cannot be the future king? But in order to be the future king, you're gonna do severe action. And this is what actually Macbeth was thinking of. He was thinking of murdering, and he kept, it's a kind of internal conflict. He was torn between the two ideas. The thought of murder is causing my whole body to shake. This was his internal conflict. He was torn between the two ideas, being a king and being a general in the army without harming anybody and without shedding blood. So we find here that Macbeth was thinking of the witches' words, while Banquo didn't think a bit about what they are saying, because he believed that they are sinister. And from here we can find out what is the tragic flaw, the tragic weakness, the tragic error in Macbeth is over-ambitious. Over-ambitious. Over-ambitious means that eager to achieve something. Okay? All of us are eager, are enthusiastic, are energetic to achieve their goals, our aims, our target in our life. So this is ambition. طموح. Okay? This is ambition. Over-ambition, of course, we all know that anything that exceeds the limit will turn upside down, or turn our life upside down. And this is what happened to Macbeth. Since we said that Macbeth is the tragic hero of the play, since it's a tragedy, and since we are talking that the tragic hero should be of a noble birth, of a noble position, and loved by everyone, so Macbeth is the tragic hero of the play, and his tragic flaw or tragic weakness is over-ambitious. Okay? This is what happened in Act 1, Scene 3. Act 1, Scene 4, it's a very short one, but again, it's focusing on the idea of being a king. So here we find out that everyone was gathering with the king, King Duncan Lennox, Malcolm Donalbain, his two sons, and other attendees. Of course, when Macbeth entered, Duncan was very happy, and he greeted him. And at the same time, he was asking one of his lords, telling them whether Thane of Cawdor was executed and not, and whether he was regretting what he has done. Of course, it seems that he was regretting, because he kept saying that he used to do this, okay, and that he is a noble way, okay, that his death become the best act of life. Okay, this is Malcolm. He cannot forgive himself, and he is executed as a great soldier and warrior, not as a traitor. Duncan, as you can see, he was thinking of what happened and how he shouldn't do such a mistake. By you cannot read a man's mind by looking at his face, and he was regretting that he trusted Thane of Cawdor. Now, when Macbeth entered, Duncan was very happy, and he said, "Oh, cousin," it means that they are relatives, okay? And he told him that, "I don't know what to do or what to say for what you have done in the war." Macbeth, of course, was very thrilled, and he said that it's my loyalty, it's my job to be loyal to you and protect you and your family and the whole country. Then Duncan, looking at everybody concerning the nobles, the relatives, the thanes, everyone was there. okay? And he announced that he will give all his lands and property to his eldest son, Malcolm, when he dies. From today, he will be known as the Prince of Cumberland. This was the announcement. What was Macbeth's reaction when he heard this announcement? Of course, he was very angry. He was talking to himself angrily, but it was aside because the other characters were there. So he was talking to himself while other characters on the stage, so we call this as an aside. That the Prince of Cumberland, okay, is now in his way, and he will have to solve this problem. Then he said a very, very important command. When he says, "Stars, hide your fires. I don't want light shining on my dark, secret desire to be king." So this means that he wants to be the king, and he wants nobody figure it out. And of course, this is foreshadowing for what Macbeth is going to do. This is foreshadowing what is in Macbeth's mind. Before he left the king, he sent a message to his wife, telling her everything about meeting the witches and the prophecies of all the witches. He sent a message to his wife, so she's going to understand what's going on, and they will start taking actions. So Lady Macbeth started reading the letter by saying, "They met me on the day of our victory, and they know things that no ordinary human being can know. I wanted to ask them more, but they disappeared. While I stood there, shocked, messengers came from the king, who called me Thane of Cawdor. The three witches greeted me with the title before they called me the future king. I wanted to tell you about these things, my dearest partner, so that you too can look forward to our great future. Keep this news in your heart, and goodbye." So as you can see, this is what they are aiming for. He wants the support from his wife, Lady Macbeth. That's why he sent her a letter. But we find out that Lady Macbeth has a different point of view concerning her husband. Yes, he's a general in the army. Yes, he is a great man. He's a great warrior. But he's a kind-hearted person. So she reflected on his character by saying that, "I'm not sure. Can you kill somebody, although you are a general in the army? Yes, you kill your enemy, but you will never kill one of your relatives because they are cousins. He will never kill for taking revenge, for example. He will never kill, and so on." So she was reflecting by saying that she's not confident of her husband's action or character because he's full of gentle kindness in order to take such an action or to seize this opportunity. She also said that she is the one who needs to be more powerful and ambitious, okay, in order to take action, but you prefer to get what you want without harming anybody. You want to be king, but you fear what you must do. This is Lady Macbeth's speech, okay? She believed that he too wants to be the future king, but at the same time, there are two sons, the elder and the younger, and so on. When Macbeth arrived, she started talking to him about what they're supposed to do. Okay, and as you can see, she was reflecting again on the letter or on the message sent to Macbeth. She kept reading it and thinking about how can we do it. But when the messenger came delivering the letters, he announced another important news, that the King Duncan is gonna visit them tonight, because he's gonna stay the night in Macbeth Castle as a kind of honor, Lady Macbeth, of course, said this is the right time to take an action, okay? And she said that tomorrow will never come for him. So this is a kind of foreshadowing for her plan that she's gonna get rid of King Duncan. And she was warning and advising Macbeth by telling him that try to hide your expressions, try to hide your innocence, because it's very clear that you are doing something, or planning for something. Try to be a matured man, okay? If you want to trick people, you have to look more innocent. You must make arrangements for Duncan, and you must give me control of the important business. She wants to have the full control of this business, and Macbeth didn't object. Scene 6, when we are talking here about the entrance hall of Macbeth Castle, here Duncan arrived at Macbeth Castle. And who was waiting for him? Lady Macbeth. Of course, Lady Macbeth was trying to show that she is very happy for receiving the king in their house, in their castle, okay? And even Duncan was very happy and pleased for such a welcoming invitation. Okay, so he said that the castle has a very pleasant situation. The air is clean and fresh. Okay, I think that is a kind of irony. Do you think it's a verbal or situational or dramatic? Of course, it's not verbal. Okay, because he mean it. It's not verbal because he mean it. And he's not situational, it's dramatic, because he's talking about the castle where he's going to be killed in. He's describing the beauty of the place, while this place will be his destruction, the final day of his life. So this is a dramatic irony. We have another irony when Lady Macbeth said, if your visit caused us twice as much trouble, we would still not deserve it. Of course, this is verbal and dramatic. She didn't mean any of these words. She's planning to kill him, okay? And dramatic because we know very well that she's pretending, okay? That she is only pretending, that she really cares and she believes that they don't deserve such an honor, okay? So this is another dramatic irony. Another irony is when Lady Macbeth said, we are your servant and are happy to give you everything we own. Of course, this is dramatic irony because she's going to take everything that is his. She's going to take even his life. So this is a dramatic irony. This is a dramatic irony. Okay? And when we talk about the irony, we have the theme of appearance versus reality. So, when I'm talking about the appearance versus reality, so I'm talking about, or when I'm talking about irony, so I'm talking about appearance versus reality. In appearance, Lady Macbeth deceived him or pretended that she is welcoming him, that she is happy that he's having him, that she's gonna do everything in order to make him happy and comfortable. While on the other hand, or while in reality, she is planning to get rid of him. Okay, so whenever there is irony, we are talking about the theme of appearance versus reality, because we said irony, unexpected. Irony means anything unexpected. When you say something which is the opposite, this is not expected. It was unexpected. Whenever you say something opposite to reality, so this is, we call it irony. So I hope that you understand these scenes. We stopped until scene 6. Let's watch a video. Maybe the information will be more clear.
Introduce King Duncan, the King of Scotland, his sons, Malcolm and Donalbain, and a young thane, Lennox, have all gathered to get an update about a recent battle. An injured captain in Duncan's army tells the story. The Scottish trader MacDonald gathered allies from the Western Isles and revolted against King Duncan. But the brave Macbeth stood strong against MacDonald's forces and struck down MacDonald himself, chopping off his head and sticking it on the castle battlements. But as soon as Macbeth obliterated the traitor MacDonald, the Norwegian king, Sweno, supported by the traitorous Scottish Thane of Cawdor, invaded with a fresh army.
Dismayed not this our captains, Macbeth and Banquo?
In response to Duncan's question, the captain says that Macbeth and Banquo weren't scared one bit, in the same way that an eagle would never be scared of a sparrow, or how a lion would not be scared of a hare. In fact, far from being frightened, Macbeth and Banquo fought the new army with twice as much ferocity as before. With that, the captain is relieved to go treat his injuries, and two other Scottish thanes, Ross and Angus, enter the scene. They add more details to the story of the recent battle and Macbeth's great victory over the traitorous armies of MacDonald and Sweno, the King of Norway. Duncan proclaims that the traitorous Thane of Cawdor is to be executed, and as the scene draws to a close, King Duncan says that Macbeth will now receive all of what the Thane of Cawdor used to own. As the three witches wait for Macbeth, they discuss their recent series of mischievous acts.
The weird sisters, hand in hand, hostess of the seething man, thus to go about, thrice to thine, thrice to mine, thrice again to make up mine. Peace, the charms on them.
So foul and fair a day I have not seen.
What are these?
Speak, if you can. What are you?
All hail Macbeth, hail to thee, Thane of Glamis. All hail Macbeth, hail to thee, Thane of Cawdor. All hail Macbeth, that shalt be king hereafter.
At once, the three witches hail Macbeth as the Thane of Glamis, Cawdor, and as king to be. And when Banquo asks the witches about his own future, the witches tell him that while his sons will be kings, he will not be one. The sudden encounter leaves Macbeth a little confused, and he asks the witches to stay and explain what they mean, since the Thane of Cawdor is still alive, and he can't believe that he would ever be king either. But the witches simply disappear.
Your children shall be kings.
Oh, you shall be king.
And Thane of Cawdor, too. Went it not so?
Suddenly, Ross and Angus, two of the king's messengers, arrive and bring with them some surprising news. Macbeth has actually been given the title and land of Thane of Cawdor.
Do you not hope your children shall be kings?
'Tis strange. In an aside, Macbeth realizes that since two of the witches' predictions have already come true, it almost seems as if the third might come true as well. But when the thought of murdering King Duncan enters into his mind, he begins to feel nervous. In fact, he wishes that he won't have to do anything at all to achieve the witches' third prediction.
Come what come may, time and the hour runs through the roughest of day.
What do you make that? We stay upon your leisure.
Let us toward the king.
Here, as you can see, he was thinking of the words, of the witch's words, in order to kill King Duncan.
As Lennox, King Duncan, and his son, Malcolm and Donalbain, wait for the arrival of Macbeth and Banquo, Duncan asks Malcolm if the Thane of Cawdor has already been executed. Malcolm informs his father that the execution has already taken place. Then, Macbeth, Banquo, Ross, and Angus enter the scene. Delighted to see Macbeth, Duncan openly expresses his gratitude. In response to this, Macbeth takes on a politically humble tone and says,
Your Highness's part is to receive our duties, and our duties are to your throne and state children and servants, which do but what they should, by doing everything safe toward your love and honor.
Basically, Macbeth is saying that he only did what he should be doing, as a child should respect his father. It is at this point when Duncan officially announces that Macbeth will now be named the Thane of Cawdor, a grand promotion. Duncan also says to Banquo that he deserves no less accolades than Macbeth does, and that Banquo will stay true in his heart. Interestingly, although Duncan claims that Banquo should be appreciated just as much as Macbeth, Banquo is given no promotion from Duncan. But there is one more promotion that Duncan announces, a promotion that ends up becoming a most alarming turn of events for Macbeth. Duncan promotes his son Malcolm to become the Prince of Cumberland and says that the stars shall shine on all deservers, referring to the fact that all those who are worthy of their good deeds will not go unnoticed. Duncan then goes on to invite himself over to Macbeth's home for the night, and in response to this, Macbeth continues to act humble by saying,
I'll be myself the harbinger, and make joyful the hearing of my wife with your approach.
But even though Macbeth's demeanor might be presented to Duncan as a loyal servant, Macbeth's inner thoughts show him to be a man riddled with guilty ambition. Poisoned by the prophecy spoken by the witches in Act 1, Scene 3, Macbeth is fixated on the idea of becoming king. And with Malcolm already proclaimed by Duncan to become the Prince of Cumberland now, Macbeth realizes that Malcolm would be an obstacle in his pursuit of becoming king. Macbeth mutters to himself,
The Prince of Cumberland. This is a step on which I must fall down, or else overleap, for in my way it lies. Stars, hide your fires. Let not light see my black, deep desires.
The scene closes with a short event that sheds light on Banquo's true nature. Even while Macbeth was not part of the conversation between Duncan and Banquo, Banquo vouches for Macbeth's valiant characteristics, showing us that Banquo is loyal to Macbeth. Whether or not Macbeth is loyal to Banquo in return, or if he is even loyal to the king that he himself has already envisioned killing, we will soon find out. The scene starts off with Lady Macbeth reading a letter delivered by her husband, Macbeth. In it, Macbeth explains that the witches had predicted that he would be promoted to become the Thane of Cawdor, and had also predicted that Macbeth was to even become king one day. After reading this letter, Lady Macbeth reveals her thoughts about her husband. She feels that her husband is not determined enough to commit the morally wrong and uncomfortable sins in life in order to gain an advantage and become powerful. In the midst of her thoughts, a servant enters the room and notifies Lady Macbeth that King Duncan will be coming for the night. Interestingly, Lady Macbeth considers this news to be good news. When the servant exits, Lady Macbeth reveals how quickly she is engulfed by her evil ambitions, as she begins to say,
Come, you spirits, that tend on mortal thoughts, unsex me here, and fill me from the crown to the toe top full of direst cruelty.
Here, we find out that Lady Macbeth wishes to become unsexed, which is to say that she wishes that she were a man. She wants to be able to easily perform the cruel act of murdering King Duncan so that her husband can become king one day and fulfill his destiny. She requests that the spirits
Make thick my blood.
and
Stop up the access and passage to remorse.
her darkness, greed, and lack of morality is ever so clear as she continues to say,
Come, thick night, and pull thee in the dunnest smoke of hell, that my keen knife see not the wound it makes, nor heaven peep through the blanket of the dark, to cry, Hold, hold.
she hopes that the thick night would make it so that her knife would not see the wound that it creates, which refers to the fact that she does not want to confront any guilty conscience that might interfere with the bloody murder. On top of this, she wants the thick night to block the heavens from witnessing and preventing the heinous crime that is about to be committed. At this point, Macbeth arrives, and he confirms with his wife once more that Duncan is staying the night and will be leaving the next day. In response to this, Lady Macbeth immediately says,
Oh, never shall sun that morrow see.
Since Macbeth said that tomorrow would be the day when the king is set to leave, and since Lady Macbeth responded by saying that the sun would never see tomorrow, as in tomorrow will never come, she is in effect saying that the day when Duncan leaves will never come. What's most interesting is how commanding and forward Lady Macbeth acts towards her husband. She instructs Macbeth to
Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it.
After ordering her husband to make certain that he does not look suspicious in any way, the scene comes to an end with Lady Macbeth reassuring her husband by saying that she shall take care of the rest of the issues that might follow. With Macbeth ambitious and Lady Macbeth ruthlessly audacious, one can only wonder what the fate of King Duncan will be in the night to come.
I hope that you do understand now what's meant by the prophecies. Who is the tragic hero? What is the tragic flow of Macbeth? What is the role of Lady Macbeth in the play? How she is evil and wicked, how she is manipulating or plotting or conspiring against Macbeth by pushing him to do evil action which he doesn't want to. So one of the questions that you need to think of, can we consider Lady Macbeth as a fourth witch? Thank you so much. I hope that you do understand today's lesson. Until we meet again, goodbye.